morality, an invisible notion that communicates to us humans the difference between right and wrong. A universal code known to each of every one of us deep down in our hearts. But where does morality come from? Is it an innate sense given to us by some benevolent creator? A code of conduct that has been drilled into us from an early age? Did humans and other social animals develop these instincts as a sort of social code that would foster cooperation, providing survival and reproductive benefits? Or are there really absolute truths in the universe? Are there really such things as good and evil? These are the questions, and the professor expects to hear his students' answers on their paper due on Monday. As the students filter out of the lecture hall, his daughter approaches him wondering if they are still on for dinner tonight. A question that leads to a really funny father and young adult daughter conversation about dating. One that ends with his daughter turning down an offer to sit through a fossil lecture and rushing to Kindle practice. Elsewhere in an alleyway, a fella is getting his pockets emptied forcefully by a gang of thugs. But this alleyway transaction is abruptly interrupted by the girl from earlier who was on her way to Kindle practice, saying, "Touch that guy again and I'm gonna have to get rough." And the gang of thugs learned the painful way that she was not bluffing, as she easily takes down two of them, with one of them having enough sense to stand down and leave. She then helps the fellow, who begins to thank her, but is interrupted when his great defender goes into full panic mode at the sight of a simple lizard, yelling, "Kill it with fire!" He tries to thank her again, but is interrupted this time by a giant explosion in the distance. He tries to, how the young people say, shoot his shot, but she runs off saying sorry, something came up, as she reaches her hand into her hair where her headband turns into some sort of liquid metal, expanding to cover her entire body in a full suit of black and pink armor, taken into the sky and heading to the source of the explosion as the Black Blossom. As she flies through the sky, the military picks her up on the radar, wondering at first if it was another unidentified object. But when they realize that it's her, the general immediately orders to get a squad there now. At the Scott City Federal Reserve, police are having a standoff with a band of criminals that set off the explosion in their efforts to rob the Federal Reserve. But as they look to the sky and see the Black Blossom approaching, the criminals try to quickly hurl things away into the getaway truck and refocus their fire on the Black Blossom. And though her suit is seemingly impenetrable, a shot to her helmet made her fall out of the sky in pain. Ready for take two, this time she forms a shield at her hands and flies behind the truck at full speed, protecting herself from their return fire. And this time she makes light work of the guys driving the truck and stops it before it could cause any severe casualties. I mean, there was some obvious structural damage, but it could have been worse. She then throws all the criminals into the back of the truck, telling them, "You're under arrest, or will be. Wait a sec." Civilians, the police, and reporters have now flooded the scene, with one reporter asking, "Black Blossom, you've been helping clean up the streets for weeks, and now for another stunning victory. How'd you do it?" And her response is, "Did you see the flying and the shooting?" The reporter's follow-up question asked, "Some said your methods are dangerous and you should leave these things to the police. What do you have to say to that?" Well, let's see what the police have to say, with Officer Chuck proceeding to give his full approval of the Black Blossom. For the final question, the reporter asks her why does she do what she does as a hero, and her response before taking off is simply, because I can, and because it's the right thing to do, I guess. Not very complicated. And before they were able to ask her any other question, she abruptly takes off and flies through the sky. But while she is flying, she gets trapped with a zap snare trap in the air that renders her unconscious. I know that was quite a statement. But is awakened face to face with a general telling her we need to have a little chat. What will the chat be about? Well, we shall find out in issue 2, Attack of the Lizard People. Yes, that's the name of the second issue. So that's it for Black Blossom issue 1, and without sticking, let's immediately put it on our Christian fiction judgment scale. But we'll be taking out our signature theological basis category, since there wasn't really any Christian theme to assess. Though it was written by Evan David, who is a professing believer, and I am his #1 fan when it comes to his fictional Christian work. Yes, I always have to say it in any video I do about Evan David. I don't think the Blockbuster series gets theological until issue 6 when she comes face to face with the cherubim. So with that being said, let's start off looking at the story. And for me, it's a classic 4 out of 5 superhero defend someone in an alleyway, stop a bank robbery, get interviewed by reporters who ask them questions about being a costume vigilante comic book issue. Quippy mid-fight one-liners, heartfelt dialogue with a close relative who has no idea they are a superhero, set up a potential future love interest. Yeah, just a good old first issue comic book. Nothing more, nothing less. The only weird thing about the comic for me personally is I don't know her name at all. Like, usually for the comics I cover, I like to go through them one by one, so even though I bought all the available issues, I'll only read one issue at a time, then make the video covering it, and then probably not check back the comic book series until I make the next video either like 2 weeks after or something. And because of that, I went through this entire video and this first issue not knowing what her name was at all. I probably came across it during my vetting process because I do vet all the comics looking at the Kickstarters and stuff, but I just can't remember it. And I'm not saying I wanted some CW My Name Is intro.
My name is Oliver Queen.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
My name is Kara Zor-El. I'm from Krypton.
But I honestly thought throughout the father-daughter dialogue I would have gotten her name, and I really thought I missed it, so when I reread it I was like, oh wait, no, they just don't disclose what her name is at all. Not saying that's like a really bad thing, as even without it the story was quite good to me personally. It's just the first time I've ever been in such a situation. So I thought I'd just put it out there. But after going through the Kickstarter of issue 6 long after scripting the video, her name is Michi Hidaka. I think I butchered her last name, but I can put that to rest now. Moving on. When it comes to artwork and creativity, I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think this initially was a webcomic, not 100% sure, don't quote me on that, which aren't always meant to come out swinging in the art department, but since I brought it at a full price on the Starcross comic site, I have to judge it according to our art scale, where 5 out of 5 is akin to Olin Orig's, I think I butchered that last name, artwork in the Parables Special Edition #1. That is my, so far out of all the Christian or comics out of all the comics I've covered, the artwork of Parables of the Remnant Special Edition #1 is my all-time favorite thus far. And that is actually a story that Evan David himself, the writer of this comic, also did the writing for. And I really like the concept of Black Blossom, especially her powers and suit. The official synopsis, according to the Kickstarter for issue 6, says it's a mixture of Venom and Ironman. And I could definitely see that, and I really liked how it didn't really, even though it has like the kind of symbiote style and the Iron Man style, it didn't feel like a ripoff to me personally. Just proper good inspiration. But it doesn't look like a ripoff of Venom and Iron Man. Even though her helmet to me does, like the first time I saw it, it does give me that striking Nova look, but it stands out on its own really and truly, and I really like that. For the final category, my enjoyment and how likely I am to recommend it is a 3.5 out of 5. It's just a fun comic read and a good start to a new series. Nothing more, nothing less. So overall, Black Blossom issue 1 gets a 3.6 out of 5 from the Xplanations. Link to purchase the comic will be in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, then why not consider leaving a like on it and subscribing for more reviews and coverage of comics made by professing believers. If you enjoyed the video to the point you want to check out another one of our videos on the channel, then be sure to click the card at the top right hand corner of your screen to check out our other Black Blossom reviews as they upload over the next couple weeks, or click on the end card to check out our review of my favorite Christian fiction superhero comic thus far, written by Evan David, Parables of the Remnant Special Edition #1.